Meat, the base of every meal. Only about 3.2% of Americans are vegan or vegetarian. Yet people in developing countries consider meat as something they may never have the chance to taste in their life. It takes more than 15,400 liters of water to produce just 1 kilogram of beef. And keep in mind that some people in developing countries get about 3 liters a day to use. This much water would be enough for them to use for over 14 years. So why is meat so cheap to buy? There are many factors that play into the reason that meat is so cheap, and none of them are particularly pretty. Firstly, to get this out of the way, it has nothing to do with the high demand. The high amount of meat we have is a result of that, but not the low price. The low price is a result of competition, and it is due to that competition that meat farmers have resorted to means like animal cruelty, but more on that later. Each year, 9 billion chickens, 113 million pigs, 33 million cows, and 250 million turkeys are raised for consumption in the US alone. This is done in a limited amount of space, and farmers had to get smart about this, but they went a little past the limit. The average egg-laying hen lives in a 14 centimeter by 13 centimeter cage. If you can't imagine that, think of the average letter-sized paper you use every day. It's smaller than that. These cages are stacked up 5 high, and through the grates, the urine and fecal matter of your fellow hens falls down onto you. The hay you have in your cage is never changed. And mind you, this is legal. This is the average. There are some hens being treated much worse. The average cow gets a stone slab of concrete to live on, only slightly larger than its body, with only barely enough food for it to give all the milk it needs to, which by the way is 6 times more than cows gave in 1940. And somehow, farmers have managed to make twice as much edible meat from the same number of cows. Is that a little fishy? The cows are being fed a huge mixture of antibiotics so they pass the inspections, which, mind you, are just being able to stand without falling down and walk a few steps. And that very meat is the stuff that ends up in our hamburgers. Combine this with the fact that water is pretty cheap and costs almost nothing in most of Canada and the US, so these cows and chickens can be fed with crops that use a lot of water but are really cheap, like corn. There are a few ways to help solve this problem. For the animal cruelty part, try buying meat and eggs made in Canada, for Canada has stricter guidelines and more frequent checks on animals than the US. And to go a step farther, you can buy meats that have cruelty-free on the packaging, or buy meats that are grass-fed, as grass-fed meat is much more water efficient than corn-fed meat. To go even farther, try eating less meat, or not even eating meat at all. A vegan uses roughly half the amount of water an average person does in one day, all from the meat eaten in your daily 3 meals. These are some of the many ways you can help save the animals and save water.